Almost like a Black Forest map.
Alright guys, so hello and welcome back to Clash of the Titans, the final qualification stage, round 1, game 2, between the Viper and VG Paladin. Score is currently at 1-0 to the Viper after winning that first game, and at game 2 right now, we do have Viper over to the right of the map playing as Celts.
And over to the left in the red, we do have Paladin also playing as the Celts.
Yeah, and as Gene said at the start there, it's kind of like Black Forest map, and that we can actually see the map is Homeland version 4. Kind of interesting here that Paladin's chosen this. It really strikes me as kind of something that I wouldn't expect him to pick. I mean, obviously this map we're going to have quite an easy wall in the middle, and I'd be interested to see if they do that, because if that is the case, we could be in for quite a long game right here.
Well, as we know, the Chinese players do love their walls here, so it could be a way of Paladin thinking here that he could just out-boom the Viper. Gene, opinion on that?
There's two things about the wall. One is if you make a wall, then the enemy can't get in to see what they're doing or what you're doing. They can't scout you. And usually the assumption is the person is booming. The way you could change it is in Castle Age, you can make an army and then really attack it fast. For example, if you make a ram and a mangonel and knights, or a few rams, then you could break the wall with the enemy player not having time to react and to make the siege workshop and to make the counters that you would normally make in that situation.
Yeah, obviously a mangonel there would be able to stop any villagers from building up behind or trying to re-wall it. So, I mean, that is something that could certainly happen, and something that I kind of hope the Viper goes for here. We can see Paladin already building that wall in the center, and you know, it's almost like, you know, in true Chinese style, they do tend to wall up quite a lot. But, you know, Viper's one of those players who prefers to play without walls. He prefers to play much more open and much more aggressive. So for him here, I think, you know, potentially going...
Oh, man.
Oh,
that's a mistake.
Ooh, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Jeez,
And actually, the mistake that Paladin is making is he's attacking, instead of doing 2 versus 1, if both of them attacking the wolf or both attacking the scout, he attacked separate... he attacked the wolf with with the scout and the scout with the villager.
Yeah. So there we go. That wall, it is going to get completed, but of course Viper's got his scout in. I think Paladin there hoping that he wouldn't. Perhaps then Paladin going to try and take out that scout if he can with his own, because that will of course deny the Viper any scouting information. But as we were saying earlier, I kind of hope that the Viper, as you say, goes for a really big push in the Castle Age here and tries to really catch Paladin out, similar to the way that Paladin did to the Viper in the Medieval Wars.
Yeah, you know, actually, if anything, I think it's Paladin who's going to do the push. I think Viper is going to do a 3 or 4, probably 4 town center move in Castle Age. He'll do probably a palisade or a house wall, just for information, and go more towards a strong Imperial game.
Okay, well that's purely speculation at this stage. Viper there just losing his scout, so going to lose any scouting information that he may have had, which of course is pretty bad if Paladin is the one to go for the castle push like you kind of think. But you know, we don't know for sure. I mean, there's no real signs of that yet, of what either player is thinking just yet. We can really only rely on metagame for that. I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to see if they both, if either of them did go for that. But there's no real way to know at this stage, I suppose.
Yeah, and the other option I'm thinking of at the moment, of course, as well, not as likely because it is going to take a lot more time, but of course there is a siege auditor option there as well. They can cut through and they can go for that kind of just run straight in and do as much damage as possible tactic there. Again, not as likely because, as we know, it takes a lot of resource, a lot of time to get that happening, but it pretty much makes walls redundant at that stage.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, obviously, if you can just cut around the wall, I mean, the wall is pretty much useless, and that's something that you see a lot in Celt Wars on Black Forest. But one thing that I kind of like about this map is that there's no, like, pockets of relics and gold. All the gold is accessible. You don't actually have to cut through the trees to access it. So I think that's kind of a really important thing. In terms of relics, Paladin does have 1 extra relic right here, having 3. The Viper only on the 2. I don't really think that's going to affect things too much in terms of how they'll play it, but I mean, it could come into play a little bit later on, where having a little bit of extra relic gold could mean the difference between 1 or 2 more siege onagers.
It'll only come into play if the game is a 5 hour long game. And I strongly doubt that it will be a 5 hour long game because there's not even enough wood for that kind of game.
Yeah, because the longer the game goes, the more kind of useful those relics become when the gold starts to run out. But, you know, there's a lot of gold on this map, and we'll have to wait and see. Of course, we can really only expect to see booming right now. Obviously, both of them going to be going for some kind of a fast castle build. It does seem like Paladin's slightly further behind, though. He's actually only got 25 population right now. Viper has 25 as well, but of course losing that scout, and Viper's up to feudal already.
I don't know if you've pointed it out yet or not, but both players have actually had to explore the Fog of War on this map. It is actually not under the same terms as Black Forest, where it is played on Explored. So this map, players forced to do a little bit of scouting to find out where the entrance is.
And actually, guys, Paladin does have a villager inside Viper's base.
Just noticed that. Interesting. That could really catch him off guard a lot there. That villager getting over right there. I suppose that's one of the disadvantages to not walling the middle. If you let your opponent wall it and you've lost your scout, they can just send a villager
It's the scout
through.
part too. It's first is not having a wall, and second is, and the most important part is not having the scout.
Yeah. So Paladin going to be through there. Now, do you think he's going to push in the feudal age or the castle age? I mean, he knows Viper doesn't have a scout now, so I think the later he waits for this to do anything with this villager, then I think that's probably going to be the best for him. Rather than pushing in feudal, he could push in the castle age, because he can still
Castle is the much better move because you have much stronger units. Actually, if you think about the units too, the earlier ages, the buildings are far superior to the units. They're much stronger than the units. And then towards the late stage, the castle, it kind of shifts more towards the units, whereas Imperial, it's 100% towards the units. So if it's in the Imperial Age and you have walls, like you said, I mean, walls, by the time it's in Imperial Age, walls do almost nothing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, once you've got rams out, siege rams especially, you're going to be breaking them down so quickly. But Viper right now, he is such an intelligent player. He sees that Paladin's scout is kind of snooping around, and he's starting to build outposts right now. Maybe perhaps thinking there is a sneak going on, which is certainly something that a lot of players would perhaps overlook. But Viper seems like he's kind of got an indicator right now that Paladin might have snuck something through there.
And actually, if Viper had played more like Jordan and did the Town Watch research, the house he's building right now would have revealed Paladin's villager.
Ooh, are you sure? I think that might just be out by one tile.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's out by one. But even so, if Viper doesn't find it, that could still be pretty bad for him. But Viper is already halfway up to Castle, which
Stable's
does mean,
going down.
Yeah, which does mean that he is going to be more prepared to deal with what Paladin has to throw at him if Paladin is only just about to click up right now. Of course, if Paladin here does come in with a load of knights, for instance, Viper's likely at that stage to already have 2, maybe 3 TCs up if he gets them up quickly. In which case, you know, the knights aren't going to be so effective, and the Viper in that position is going to be able to react a little bit more without the, without necessarily being thrown off too much. Worth noting though, Viper doesn't have Loom at this stage, so I think that could be quite bad for him if Paladin does come in with a push right here. Let's see.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's pretty much to be expected at this point. We've got the double stable coming up inside Viper's, well, pocket right now. And from there, of course, Paladin can be able to get out some pretty strong knights and do a lot of damage to the economy.
Yeah, but as we see, Viper's 2nd and 3rd TC going to be going down. By the time Paladin's up to Castle Age, Viper's already going to have those 2 TCs, which is going to be offer, a huge amount of protection to the Viper's villagers here. What do you think, Gene? Do you think that that Paladin would be able to do all that much damage if the Viper researched Bodkin Arrow as soon as, or Fletching and Bodkin Arrow when he saw those knights?
I strongly doubt he's going to have the economy to research even either. Maybe Fletching, but definitely not Bodkin. And you can have 100 town centers, but if they're all loaded up and villagers are sitting inside it, and you have no economy, I mean, the whole point of villagers is so that they are being used. When they're inside a town center, they're idle. They're safe, but they're idle. So I think that Paladin has a very strong chance of winning this game.
Yeah, if he even disrupts his economy, of course that's going to be, as you say, making his villagers idle, which is not ideal, I suppose. But
yeah. But also, please keep in mind one thing. I mean, the more town centers Viper is putting down, like when you're under pressure, and when it's sort of I mean, everybody has the same number of resources to use as well. So the extra town centers, they take a while. They take time to, come into play. They take time to really start working for you. Right now, every single town center he's putting down, it's setting him further behind because Paladin has more resources to use to attack Viper with.
That is true, but the Viper right now does realize that there's a siege workshop or something there. He did just scout that with a farm or a palisade or something, and
I believe it was the deer.
Oh, the deer, yeah.
Mm.
Potentially giving that away there, and there we go. The knights are coming in, and he was right in assuming that he's got to get a wall up or something on the front here though, and start getting some barracks or barracks down so that he can quickly make some army behind this. Obviously going with a monastery right there. Paladin right now, 2 knights are in. But how much damage is he going to be able to do right now if the Viper's starting to put that monastery up and he is aware of it? Of course, knowing is the first kind of... Knowing what's going on is the first step to being able to counter it, and now he knows. So Monk's going to come straight out for the Viper, and obviously those knights are going to be repelled pretty quickly by those monks when they are out. But Ram's coming in from Paladin as well, and that's going to be pretty tough to deal with monks alone. So Viper is really going to be struggling here, I feel.
Yep. The thing is, because he invested in all these town centers and all these farms, he doesn't have the economy to actually make anything that's going to counter this army.
Yeah, obviously it takes a little while for those resources to come back to you once you've invested them. Maybe if he converts a couple of knights here though, he could kind of work on turning it around. One conversion right there, and putting up a barracks back here as well to perhaps go with some spearmen or pikemen as well. Quite a few barracks going down actually, but these rams are going to make pretty short work of everything if they are untouched, and it's going to be really tough for the Viper here. Starting to add a spearman in, but 1 spearman and 1 knight really not going to be enough at this stage. Fletching being researched as well right now, so of course that is going to help him out a little bit in terms of doing attack damage to these knights and the rams, but 1 TC likely to go down pretty quickly here.
Paladin is not making enough knights. He should have gone 3 stables and focused on a larger mass of knights with the rams.
Yeah, I'd say so as well actually, because if you think about it there, not really so much support for those rams at all, and they've already lost a lot of health from the villagers, and of course if there's not any support there, it's going to make it pretty difficult. Looks like though, this barracks is going to go down before the pikeman research is done. And that's quite a big loss for the Viper to take right there. Obviously that pikeman research really important for him. But losing that one means that he's going to be stuck on spears for now. And he's losing his kind of base at quite a fast rate right now.
Also keep in mind that Viper is focusing on the gold economy because he's using the market. Gathering gold is actually quicker up to a certain point than gathering food from farms. So he's buying the food and he's buying the wood that he needs.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of good in this situation because he is going to be able to get those resources slightly faster, but it's not ideal because obviously you are losing out when you're doing that. You are losing your resources in a sense, having to buy and sell. I mean, market is really kind of a last kind of resort situation.
Pikeman research is going on.
Yep, on 25% right there. And another monastery down as well. I just feel that Paladin's making a pretty good push right here. He's converted some of these houses as well, so Viper might, well, he's lost a lot of population actually, but you know, if this continues on, then he could find himself being population blocked as well and needing to add more houses behind this.
I think the reason why he got the converting the houses part is so that he could convert enemy siege. Other than that, I feel it's a wasted resource. Also, he should have made a couple of scorpions because they help a lot with fighting against pikemen.
Yeah, he already has a scorpion out actually. Scorpions, yeah, great against infantry obviously. Viper right there losing another TC, and he's really just trying to get on with the pike production right now. Let's have a quick look at Paladin's base. He's actually adding in his 2nd TC only just now, but obviously going for military first. And even if Paladin loses this push, he's going to end up having a much better economy because of it as well. That's if he loses this push. At this stage, it looks highly unlikely.
He's gonna have less villagers, but an economy that is just more set up.
Yeah. If we have a look at the villages over here in the north, they're all bumping each other, they're all really kind of blocking and getting in each other's way, which is not how you want it to be at all. And you know, it takes a little bit of your focus to actually really sort out your villagers like this. It's easy to just task them to a tree and then focus on your military, but being able to make sure they're working efficiently is really important, and obviously that's something that Paladin's going to have the time to do right now.
One mistake that Paladin is making is he should commit more to the attack. So he should either add another siege workshop or another stable. He needs more production if he's committing to the push.
Yeah, oh no, Viper sending that Mangonel in there to aim for the battering rams, but that's going to go down pretty much instantly. But the Knights now fighting against the pikes there, going down pretty damn quickly actually. But obviously now, Paladin with those Scorpions and that Mangonel, going to make those pikes really inefficient actually. More pikes coming out, and I think really Viper's just production right now is way too little. Making a quick dash for those Mangonels where he can, I think. Let's see if what he can actually do here. 2 units getting converted straight away. Looking to
those
take out
pikes, the pikes are enough to actually clear out the army.
Well, he's aiming for the siege right here to try and take out the Mangonels and the Scorpions, because of course that's what's going to do the biggest damage to his pikes at this stage.
I feel like personally the most interesting thing right now is Viper's still on top population-wise here. Behind all of this push from Paladin, he's actually devoted pretty much everything he had into this push and getting rid of Viper completely. I don't want to say neglected his economy, because he has gone up to extra town centers there, but only one. But if Viper can hold this back, he could be in a spot where he could actually come back from here.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough for him though, but saving that TC in the center, as you say, he is actually pretty close in population right now, and actually ahead. He has 2 more population at this stage, so if he continues to keep going and keep holding off, it seems like Paladin's push here really been kind of stunted quite a bit. He doesn't have much to support this. 2 Knights is all I can see at this stage, and if the Viper does hold it off, then he might be in a situation where he could actually come back from it, as you say, but it's going to be so tough.
No, actually Paladin stopped the push. It seems that he's abandoning it.
Yeah. No more military production from him at all on the front. Monks are coming out continually though, adding in 3-4 more monks right there. So, as you say, stopping that push slightly right there, but Paladin now should be getting ahead in economy. He really should be getting ahead at this stage.
Oh man, actually the best move is Viper he doesn't know that Paladin stopped the aggression, so he keeps on making army. So Paladin is making Viper overinvest into army.
Yeah, that's obviously going to make...
It's a huge thing. At this point, with such delicate economy, it's huge.
It's going to mean that obviously a lot of wasted resources for the Viper that he could be reinvesting into his economy to put it back on top right now. Losing quite a few villagers to that Mangonel, he really needs to do something about that. But certainly should be able to finish up or clean out what Paladin has right here. Should be able to do that no problem with what he's got here.
I guess another point worth noting as well here is actually that Paladin's been calling all the shots in this game right now. He's been choosing where to engage, how to engage, what to engage with, and he's pretty much got away with it with a completely free economy. So even if Viper does have the same kind of population going on, his economy has been so much more efficient this entire game.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well, you got to bear in mind, Viper has a lot more military at this stage, which is adding a lot to his population, which Paladin does not have. But the Viper now, I feel like once he sees that, there's not really anything else coming out from Paladin, he can really focus on getting his economy back into high gear. And we can see that Paladin right now, 2 TCs, 3rd just going up. The Viper already sticking up his 4th right now, well, 3rd and 4th again. So, you know, he could actually come back in terms of eco. If we have a look at the scores, he really isn't too far behind, considering the amount of pressure that Paladin's been putting on him here.
Oh man, actually, if you look at the 3rd town center that Paladin that he's putting up, initially I thought it was a mistake. Basically I said, okay, if he's giving up the army, if he's giving up the push, Making anything here is a mistake, but he's now putting up a castle, which is actually changing that mistake into a good move.
Yeah, putting that castle up there, and that's obviously going to be able to lock down this area of the map for a while. Castle will, of course, be able to shred through those pikemen as well. But interesting that he's decided to put up a TC there as well. Obviously, as you said, it's kind of a really silly thing to do, but with that castle, should it be able to protect that as well, and that's not too bad at all. Should be able to make a little bit more of a push there with that if he decides to commit to it, making Woad Raiders, for instance.
Paladin going
right
up
now
with more
is-
Stonewall as well in the middle of the map right now, so it looks like he is going to try and delay any kind of push for as long as possible.
Yeah, I agree. What were you going to say there, Gene?
Actually, the way he's stonewalling, and this is something that just a comment for everyone. Rams, they deal damage, especially capped and siege rams. They do damage 2 tiles in. So if you ever want to do a wall that is really like secure, you want to leave a gap between the walls. So you want them to go in layers, like 1 tile of wall, 1 gap, next tile of wall, next gap, next tile of wall. This will make it much longer for the enemy player to go through and actually get to your point if you're already committed to walling.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because of course in that situation, the player would have to break through the first wall and no damage would be done to the second in the meantime, so it's going to obviously take a lot longer for them to break it down. It's a really good point, actually. More castles coming up for Paladin here, though. Another castle on the front, and he really is investing quite a bit in siege here. Of course, playing as Celts, it makes a lot of sense. They do have that faster firing siege. And with another castle on the front, it's going to be out of range of this TC, but it's going to deny the Viper quite a lot of map control here on this bottom side.
And not just map control, but look at the placement of the castle. He put it down where, if the castle goes up, he's got Viper's stone.
Yeah, of course, on the left right there, but also on the front as well. And that's going to make it more difficult for the Viper to actually put up his own castle. He doesn't have the stone for it right now. And that's going to make it pretty difficult for him to take it out.
The reason why it's good is Woad Raiders, they counter the standard Celtic army, which is halbs. I mean, the early Imperial army that Celts usually go with is halberdiers, because they're cheap. They're free units, they don't cost any gold. And you can mass produce them, and they are strong units. You could push with them very well. So Woad Raiders are now the natural counter to that unit.
Yeah, that's a really good point, but obviously right now, if Paladin doesn't have anything to protect these castles with, obviously making a few Woad Raiders at the moment, if he loses that army, the castles are going to be pretty exposed still, because the Viper, he is going to be up to the Imperial Age, well he is up to the Imperial Age now, clicking up, and can still add in those siege rams, so it's not like not having a castle is a huge deal in terms of taking out your opponent's castle, but it's the lack of the Woad Raider that really is the big issue for him right now.
The way you would protect the castle, though, I mean, if the enemy doesn't have trebuchets, then the way you protect it is by massing a few mangonels behind it, and then siege rams don't do that much damage.
Yeah, get taken out very quickly by mangonels. I think in this situation, Paladin really obviously just focusing on the Woad Raiders. What do you think the Viper's going to be able to do here to really counter that? Of course, he could go with some Scorpions, but I think Paladin is going to be the next best option for him in this situation.
Despite me saying that that's a bad move, what I would do is go mass halbs and mass rams.
Okay.
And just the idea is you want to overpower it with the mass. You want to make a lot of it. The only question is if Viper's economy can support it.
Okay, well, we'll see what he does here. At the moment, he is actually researching long swordsman, so it looks like he's going to go down the champion route right now.
Because he's trying to counter the Woad Raiders, yep.
Yeah, of course, countering those Woad Raiders is going to be so crucial. But obviously the siege is going to play a huge part in this as well. Obviously upgrading to Onager, upgrading those siege rams, going to make quite a big difference to how it goes down if it's just a
Actually, at this
one-on-one
point,
fight.
honestly, at this point too, the siege rams is the last priority. I did not see the Woad Raiders that Paladin had. So siege rams are secondary. He has to first live through this.
Yeah, both of them now up to the Imperial Age. We see Paladin coming in with a lot of Woad Raiders there, and obviously, clue in the name, they are a great raiding unit, just upgraded to Elite as well. And now, see, taking down that TC pretty damn quickly, but going to be able to get right into the Viper's eco here, and Viper's looking pretty thin on the ground in terms of military at this stage. Going with the long swordsman, as we said earlier, going to be upgrading those to two-handed somewhere. There we go. Let's see if he's actually got enough to counter this. I don't think Paladin's probably expecting so many long swordsmen to just appear, though.
Long swordsmen have 55 hit points, and they do 9 damage. The base of the Elite World Raider is 80 hit points and 13 damage. So even like that, it's a... oh, but now they're upgraded to 2 hands.
Yeah. And I think the Viper looking for champion in just a moment. Lacking the food by the looks of it right now, but two-handed certainly going to be much better as well. Especially this as well. The fact he's fighting under his TCs here going to make a huge difference. Of course, as you say, the Elite World Raider much better on the base stats here, but fighting under the TC for as long as he can, going to do that extra damage there as well.
Paladin already having the +4 on them as well, actually, there as well.
Yeah.
So, going to be able to soak up a lot of damage, especially on those woes, which start off with their 1 pierce armor as well.
The rating is what's killing Viper. He can't get the economy going. And the champion upgrade, the thing about the champion upgrade is when it costs 750 food, which means you can make an extra 11 or 12 regular swordsmen.
Two-handed, yeah.
Instead of getting that champion upgrade. So it's a balance. It's basically you have to get enough two hands to justify the champion upgrade.
Yeah, there's the GG from the Viper right there. Really well played by Paladin actually, and I think Viper did a great job at actually holding off that push initially. Obviously, it did huge damage, and it was too much for the Viper to really recover from. But I've got to say, both of them played that one really well, and Viper losing that one, making it 1-1 at this stage.
Yeah, so 1-1 for both players. Now, I don't think really anyone expected Paladin to lose his home map here. Of course, it was his choice, but his strategy for this was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, getting that sneak villager through was certainly ideal, but I mean, it was pretty much Viper's fault that happened. No wall in the middle and no scouting left him open to that. Just want to point out, though, this is the Viper's first loss of this tournament so far. And it is quite a late stage of the tournament to happen, so we'll have to see what happens in the next game. Of course, that will be the Viper's home map, and that'll be coming up right after this advert.